Hello and welcome to Rise Up, where we learn about different fields for teens through experts in those fields. Today we have a very highly esteemed guest. He's the president of Young Democrats of America, who work each and every day to support the implementation of a nationwide campaign approach, leaving no Democrat, no voter, and no young person behind. Raising awareness among the future of America's politics, its basics, and how they, as our future, are affected. So without further ado, please welcome Mr. Joshua Harris Till.
How's it going, boss?
Awesome, awesome. So first of all, again, thank you for being here and giving me the opportunity to talk to you and get, tell loads of information on, YDA and what you do and more. So let's start off with Young Democrats of America. What is it?
That's a great question. So, the Young Democrats of America is the youth wing of the Democratic Party. We're the largest partisan youth organization in the country. We're in almost all of the states and territories. And our focus is on making sure that young people know how to run for office, know what tools they need to be effective in politics. They know and have a relationship with their elected officials. They have resources nationwide to make sure that they're learning everything they need to know to either be the politician or be the person supporting the politician in this country.
Whoa. And as president, what exactly is your role in it?
That's a great question. And it's definitely definable differently depending on who the leader is. What I feel my role is for Young Democrats is to make sure that there's a lot of connections that the organization has, that the state chapters have access to. A lot of the work happens at the state level, but if we don't have the money and we don't have the connections, we don't have the resources at the national level to provide to them, then they might run into some hurdles. So how can I mitigate the amount of hurdles that they have to run into? That's what I believe out to be.
Wow, that's amazing. So basically taking it on a national level is your job, and building up those connections through doing amazing events, as I saw recently on your LinkedIn, about your ancestor Emmett Till, I believe, and seeing stuff like that, raising awareness for that is also just amazing. The job you do on that is mind blowing. So now focusing a little more on yourself, I see you have been in the political industry for quite a while, starting off as an intern for Representative Dan Boren, and working your way up to being president now. So would you say in the future you'd rather stay in the educative political side or run for office like your cousin?
You know, what I think is that if there's a need for me to run for office, then I'm willing to do it. But
Hmm.
I live in a great area now in Oklahoma City. My state representative is a Dem, my senator is a Dem, my city council person is a Dem. We had a congressional member who was a Democrat. We just lost that seat, and so we have to get it back. But hopefully Congresswoman Horn is going to get her seat back. My focus has always been I don't need to hold an office, right?
Hmm.
Do the work. And if holding the office is a part of me doing the work, then I'm more than willing to do that. But if it's not, then I'm completely fine with that. I love spending time teaching young people about this political process and how to do it effectively. And so
That's
if
amazing.
that's all I do for the rest of my life, then I'll be completely content with it.
That's amazing. Yeah. So it's you stay more on teaching young kids to go become politicians and raise amazing issues, whether that's as a representative to the people or being one of the people, um, rather than being in the office, which I feel is great because you're helping the future get better. Rather than, yes, of course, you're helping the now by raising awareness to voters right now, but you're also working towards the future. So that's awesome. Um, so let's backpedal a bit though. What essentially attracted you to politics? And the reason I ask this is what kind of hobbies or likings one has which attracts them into this industry.
So that's a really funny question, and you've done an amazing amount of research. I can tell from your questions, but that's not one that you could research on me. I don't come from a political family. It was not something that I was interested in from a young age. The
Mhm.
reality is, I went to a community college for a semester before I transferred to Northeastern State University. And at that community college, I was hanging out in the cafeteria one day, and a guy walked up to me, and we just started having a conversation. I can't remember all of the details of the conversation, but the main
Mhm.
takeaway was we both didn't have vehicles at one point in time, and we would walk everywhere. For myself, after football in high school, I would have to walk home. It was a 5 mile walk. And
Whoa.
so I would finish
Oh.
practice. I would be exhausted, but I had this 5 mile journey home. My mom worked all the time. She couldn't pick me up. Um, but I always appreciated, and he felt the same. We always appreciated when somebody gave us a ride, whether it was 5 miles or 5 blocks, like making our journey easier with something that just made our life so much more better. And we felt appreciation, not just of that person, but of the universe and society as a whole for making that investment in us. And now that
Mhm.
we had cars, every time we saw a friend who needed a ride, we'd give them a ride, even if it was way out of our way, just because we remember those people who picked us up when we didn't have a vehicle.
Mhm.
Um, Turns out this guy was the student body president. He asked me if I had ever been interested in student government. I laughed and I was like, "No, I'm a football player." And he's like, "I think that you would really like this." So he brought me in, maybe the public relations chair, transferred to the university, got involved in the student government there, got involved in some student government groups, became a poli sci major. The rest is
Wow.
kind of history from that point, but it all happened based on this conversation with a guy who just took an interest in me. And so, that's what I love about politics. That's what I try to do every single day. That's why I wanted to come on the show. One conversation with a person can really transform somebody's direction in life. If it hadn't been for him, I probably wouldn't be the president of Young Democrats right now. I don't know where I would be, but
Yeah.
fundamentally, I didn't have politics as a focus, and so I
Yeah.
hope that these conversations that you're doing with not just me, but the other amazing folks you're doing them with, help inspire that person. They hear that conversation, they get a huge takeaway from it, and maybe it changes the direction of their life, and they're doing something amazing in the future. That's what I love about politics. That's why I do this work.
Wow. Wow. Whoa. I mean, that's just mind blowing. Um, yeah. I mean, you really see things once you don't have them, right? Now, if I didn't have a car and I'd have to walk 5 miles every day to get to home, and that I have to do that. It's not even like, hey, my home is closer, or I can go to some other school or something. Then that really makes you realize stuff. Wow. Um, but if for whatever reason I did not have this opportunity to realize this, that I want to give to people in a way that you did. You got that connection, you had that conversation, right? For someone who doesn't have that conversation, how would students know if they're fit for politics otherwise? What kind of traits are you seeing throughout the industry that are visible in people who usually go for this kind of job?
That's an excellent question. And it's funny because I think back in college, one of the political organizations I was in, we used to invite people to it, and people would be like, politics isn't my thing. Or I don't really like politics. And our response would be like, me either. What do you like? What do you care about? What are you passionate about? What work do you want to do? That thing is connected to politics. So whether you are at my level of politics or whether you're just a person who votes, like you need to be involved in politics, because if you want to be a teacher, so much of that is regulated by legislation. If you want to be a welder, if you want to be a doctor, a lawyer, if you want to, do content on social media, Even this has legislation around it. Even these conglomerates have to, testify before Senate. So my biggest thing that I'm looking for, I don't need you to have any specific traits or come from a specific background. I just need you to be passionate about something, whatever
Mhm.
it is that you care about. Um, be the person who cares about it loudly. Be the person who expresses themselves on that issue as much as possible. Be the person who educates folks on the different components of that issue. If you are passionate, you will do wonders in politics because there's so many people who aren't.
Mhm.
There's a lot of people who just do politics for the money or because they've been pushed into it or because they care about this one specific thing and nothing else. But if you're passionate about politics, then you're going to bring your issues to the forefront and people are going to have a conversation about it. And that might
Right.
not happen if you're not there.
Right. Right. So being passionate is one of the key things in order to do this, and being passionate about anything really, as you said, is a really good thing in that itself. So there's many specializations that people can go into that are going to help for whichever field they want to go into and connect that politically, um, which is which is a great thing. Um, the people I've talked to, most of them say that, hey, 20 years back or 30 years back, it was either you're a doctor, you're an engineer, or you're um advertisement person, right? And they never related to each other. Where if you're a doctor, you're just a doctor, right? You're never going to talk to an engineer, or you're never going to connect with an engineer, whether that's through business or whether that's socially or whatever. But now today, you see so much connection between everything, and I think politics is the one thing that connect. One of the huge things that connects this, um, which is amazing. So, how would students go about entering into the political world today? Would it be through could it be through Young Democrats of America? Could it be through our, social media? What are the different ways they can connect into this field?
Well, for me, I'm always going to suggest Young Democrats to start because, I'm obligated to. This is a great organization, whether I'm the president of it or not, because it puts you in a room with like-minded individuals from all around the nation who have
Mhm.
been doing this work or have experience in this work, or even newbies to the work, right?
Mhm.
From there, though, there's tons of internship programs, there's page programs, there's education programs within your school. Uh, High school Democrats, college Democrats, high school Republicans, college Republicans, young libertarians. Obviously, I'm a Democrat. I love being a Democrat. This is what I've chosen for me. If that's not for you, that's fine. There's organizations with folks involved, who you can get in contact with, but not just party organizations, right? The
Mhm.
Sunrise Movement is a great organization that's doing a lot of work. Um, Democracy Now, Democracy Alliance. These are organizations that sound like they're Democrat, but they're not. But there's all kinds of progressive organizations out there. There's all
Mhm.
kinds of educational programs. Whatever it is that you're interested in, I go back to that passion argument. Look up who's doing the work on that and look
Mhm.
up if there's a youth affiliate doing that work. And if it's not, hey, that's a great space to create a youth presence. Very often I get emails or messages on social media from people who want to come up with a new version of Young Democrats. Young Democrats is
Mhm.
7 years old. You're not going to replace the
Wow.
Young Democrats with whatever organization that you're creating. And you shouldn't try to. I think it's a waste of your time,
Right.
right? But what I do think is that if there's not a, rise up, where there's a space where a young person is having conversations with industry professionals about what it is that they do so that other young people can watch this program and get that insider knowledge on what's going on, then that's something that you should create. If that's not a space that already exists, create it and you'll do amazing things with it. Don't reinvent the wheel, you know,
Mhm.
revolutionize
Exactly.
the wheel. And I think that's what you've done with the show, and I'm glad to be a
Thank
part of
you.
it.
Thank you. Yeah, wow. That you just giving out amazing answers. Um, yeah, so definitely, I definitely for the viewers, I'll put down a link below for Young Democrats of America, Sunrise Movement, and Democracy Now, as you stated. Some of the key organizations that students can get in touch with, and of course, if not, then create your own organization. You know, go for that if you feel like there's a space. And of course, there's always amazing corporations like YDA. But let's say, you know, you've experienced a ton, you know, in political industry, as I stated before. So, what would be a piece of advice you'd give to your younger self with your current knowledge? You know, the reason being that we have a multitude of teens around the globe that may come across and face the same problem, and you may have had. So this would serve, I guess, as a word of caution and a piece of advice.
Um, a message I would give to you, well, you know, the first message I think is like invest in Apple and Bitcoin because I probably would be rich right now. But no, on a more serious note, I think I would tell myself be intentional, right?
Mhm.
Um, like we oftentimes go through life kind of, you know, riding the wave, as it were,
Right.
um, dealing with things as they come, kind of making decisions in the moment. Like, be intentional. Like, if I would, I
Mhm.
had no clue that I wanted to do politics, right? But if I
Mhm.
would have known that I wanted to do politics, and if I would have started taking it seriously from a younger age, like I'm here, and you know, I really didn't take a huge interest in politics until probably 19, 20 years old, right? I
Right.
was in Kansas last year, or the year before last, and there was a 14-year-old girl in there, and she was asking policy questions at this roundtable we were having with the governor. I have a
Wow.
friend on Instagram. Her name is Activist Addison on Instagram. One of my favorite people. 7 years old. Um, Fundamentally always at the forefront of everything going on political. She's knocking doors, she's phone banking, she's handing out literature. Like she's doing this at 7 years old. And it's
Wow.
because she found something that she was passionate about, and she's very intentional on moving forward into that. Whatever it is that you're passionate about, be intentional on that thing. If it's basketball, if you want to be in the NBA, then don't go to practice like it's practice. Go to practice like you're preparing yourself to be in the NBA. If you want to
Mhm.
be a musician or a singer, like then utilize your time doing that thing. Make sure that you're actually invested in it. Look at it like you do a job. To show up, sing, warming up your vocal cords every single time. If somebody gives you the opportunity to sing, take it. We oftentimes take for granted the things that we're passionate about, and
Mhm.
sometimes we lose those things. Sometimes we decide to discard those to do something more practical. Hey, you got to make money in this life. You got bills to pay. We all know that to be true.
Right.
But there's such a unique opportunity right now for somebody to take the thing that they're passionate about and blow it up into something amazing. We're seeing this on TikTok,
Mhm.
Instagram,
Right.
YouTube. Like these are spaces where somebody had an idea and they cared about it enough to start working on this entire show was
Mhm.
something that was in your head. And now you've interviewed some phenomenal people. And the show is going to grow and it's going to build. And there's going to be people who are like, you know, maybe right now thinking Rise Up isn't that important. Like, why does he spend all of his time on that? But when Rise Up is like, you know, one of these verified huge accounts with millions of viewers, it didn't matter if they see the vision that you have now. It matters that you're intentional on how you do this work, that you're spending time reaching out to people, that you're spending time doing research on the folks that you're going to interview, that you're making sure the quality of the show is changing. I watched a number of your episodes and I see how you've been making adjustments throughout those. Like, that's phenomenal. I got to see in real time you take this idea you had and start to turn it into something that's more refined and it's going to be extremely successful. And that's why I wanted to be a part of it. Not because I needed to come speak, but because I wanted to have a conversation with you. I saw who you were on camera, but now I get to have this conversation with you in real life. And this is what I live for. This is what I care about, to see that passion in people. Like this is one of the most beautiful, unrefined things that you'll get to experience in life. And so
That's so
whatever
true.
you do, be as intentional as Moulik is. Make whatever your idea is the next rise up. That's what people are going to be saying in the future when they talk about you.
Thank you. I mean, wow. Yeah, I, I really agree with that. That is something I fall for as well at times. Although I do work for stuff because I understand that I need to get stuff done. That's what I'm passionate about, right? It's not gonna work if I don't do anything. It's not gonna move forward. So that is one thing that I feel is one of the best pieces of advice I've gotten. Being intentional is definitely a really, really strong point because you could be doing everything in the world, but if you're not doing it for the thing you like, then you're gonna get nowhere. So that is definitely something true. Um, so the moving on to a little more of the health aspect of it, you're doing a really important job. You're in charge of this national organization. So how do you deal with the health aspect of it? And it's definitely a challenging task, and the reason being is you must deal with a lot of stress. And so, if people in the future were to achieve a position like this, what is a good way you feel to decompress in situations like this?
Well, first and foremost, go to counseling, right? We take care of our health in so many other facets, but we don't take care of our mental health the same way. Like therapy and counseling is something that I believe everybody should be a part of. And look, I was the person who said this before I was actually going to therapy myself. I was the one who was preaching this message hypocritically. Um, but since being involved in it, it's been extremely helpful. Surround yourself with good people, right? People who care about you and people who know you well enough will be able to look at you and tell when you're lying about saying you're fine or saying you're okay or saying that everything's okay.
Right.
Like you're not fine and you need to take a break. Get some people around you who will tell you to take a break um, and eat. Um, there's my friend in New Jersey. Her name's Amy. Amy messages me almost every day when she knows that I'm really stressed out, and she was like, "Did you eat today?" And it's so phenomenal to have people who care about you like that. And you need to be intentional on having people in your life like that. But also, find an outlet. For me, I love karaoke. And so I get to travel the country when it's outside of COVID. I get to travel the country. And one of the things that, people always set up for me when I come is karaoke somewhere. And so I get to go into this room, and people don't love karaoke as much as I do, but they know that I love karaoke. So they'll set it up for me, and we sing and we have a great time. And I don't know what it is, but like you get to sing and people clap and scream and applaud for you. That is, I don't do drugs. That's my drug of choice, right?
Right.
Because it's amazing to have that kind of feeling. Um, and I really like hate compliments and applause and any other kind of realm, but in karaoke, I love it because everybody claps for everybody. Everybody
Right.
supports everybody. Like it's a beautiful environment. Even if you do a horrible job with the song, somebody's gonna be there like, yeah, hey, you,
Yeah.
you did it. Um, so find, that those relationships. Find that family. Find people who are not gonna let you slack off, right? But who are going to be insistent upon you taking a break and resting because you
Right.
can pour from an empty bucket. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so many of these different positions, especially the higher up you get, yes, there's all of the
Yeah.
stress that I have in my personal life, and there's all of the stress that people bring to me from their personal lives because of what they're dealing with because of my
Right.
position. And so me trying to carry all of that on my own is
Yeah.
I won't be successful. Like I won't, I would just, it won't work. And so making sure that I'm in therapy, making sure I got a good support network around me, and making sure I have a good outlet. I obviously haven't been able to do karaoke in quite some time, but
Yeah.
as soon as the vaccine is out and it's safe again, like I'm finding somewhere to do karaoke because that's one of my outlets. So it's not just one thing; it's multiple things, and it's about making sure your environment is comfortable. You know, kind of the same way
Mhm.
your office, I'm sure in your house, my office here. You know, this art that I put up, it's
Yeah.
for me more than it is for anybody else because I like to kind of create a warm and comforting environment. I
Right.
actually can't see how dirty my office is, but you get to see like this wall
Wow.
is covered with pictures of young Dims and friends from throughout my life, right? And I keep that on the wall to remind myself, look, this isn't about just me. You know what I mean? I've been blessed
Mhm.
in this life to have so many different opportunities to meet so many different people, and I want to meet so many more. Every
Yeah.
single one of these photos is a memory, right?
Right.
And a connection. And so, what am I doing when I'm at this computer, when I'm at my desk, to make sure that I'm making stronger connections, make sure I'm making better memories, and to make sure that I'm thankful for the life that
Mhm.
I've lived. It's something that I use to center me, and I implore everybody else to do the same. Create an environment that helps you be successful.
Definitely. Yeah. That that's I feel that what that is one of the most important things. Creating the environment around you to be one that is beneficial towards you, right? Although mine does not have my office does not have um, as big of a meaning as loads of photos. Like wow, I do like to keep some books around me. That way, I get you know have that feeling. So I'll have books like Start with Why, some inspirational books or books that have made me who I am today, right? That have influenced me, that have led me to, you know, use even my word choices on how I'm talking and stuff. So that is one of the most important things, and of course, friends as well, right? Who's around you, and having a hobby like karaoke or something, which I hope you'll come do in Houston once COVID's over. Would
Sure.
definitely look forward to that.
So I go there quite often. I actually was, back in December I was there. So
Oh, whoa,
we'll karaoke it up one of these days.
definitely, yeah, that'd be awesome. Um, yeah. So one of the key things though is of course your mindset, right? Having that mindset of being healthy, being in a healthy place, yet also constantly growing, right? Growing not only yourself, but those around you. So, aside from your job, what kind of mindset did you start off with, and has that changed in any way? The reason being that if, again, this were an easy job, that you'd see everyone doing it, right? But you were able to get to your position for a reason with your own ups and downs. And so how did you push through? Did you look towards those photos, or what did you look at? What made you go through those bad days? And
That's a really great question. Um, so my mother, unfortunately, she passed in 2017. She had cancer. Um, but my mother has always been a caretaker. And
Mhm.
even until that last week that she was alive, people were coming to visit her. She was comforting people, letting them know things were going to be okay, even at those very last moments.
Right.
She's always been the person who's got up and gone to take care of people. We had an uncle in Seattle who had some health issues. She went to Seattle. We had an uncle in Louisiana who had some health issues. She went to Louisiana. Um, it didn't matter what she was going through. It didn't matter how she was struggling. She took care of people. And what has pushed me and the mindset that I bring to this is that same mindset that she instilled into me as a young person, and it's servitude. Like my job is to serve people. And how has it changed? It's humbled me so much. Um, there's people who give me compliments all the time. They talk about the amazing things that I've done. They talk about, how big it is to hold this office or to be in these positions or to take pictures with folks. And, you know, none of that matters to me. Um, I appreciate it. I love it. I'm glad that I had those, but that's not why I do this work.
Mhm.
Conversations like this is why I do this work. I don't,
Right.
what I mean? But I can do an NPR interview tomorrow, right? But this interview right here allows me to connect with somebody who is just as passionate about building something as I was when I started out.
Right.
And so every single one of these connections, every single one of these interviews, every single one of these conversations, like that is why I do the work that I do. I got some people interviews in the New York Times, and they put on Facebook, and they're like, "Look, Mama, I was in the New York Times."
Yeah.
Seeing that, and it wasn't a thank you to me. So some people thank me for getting those interviews. Most of them don't. That happens,
Mhm.
right? But them being able to share, saying, look, Mom, I was in it. The New York Times felt great to me. Every success I've ever gotten, like reward or plaque or trophy, like I gave it to my mom.
Right.
It was to honor her for the investment she made in me, but also because I did it for her. I did these things for her, and I've learned now
Right.
that I can't. There was no amount of gifts that I could have given her, no amount of trophies or accolades that would have made her more proud of me than she already was. And
Mhm.
so now as I approach life, it's about making sure that I still honor that memory, even though she's not with me anymore. Like, how can I invest in folks the way she invested in me? How can I continue to make her proud? How can I make
Mhm.
sure that these trophies and these accolades are still honoring her? And I believe that it's through servitude. And so I try to make time to do things that allow me to grow and allow me to feel complete and allow me to feel fulfilled. I'm never going to be too Hollywood or too big to have a conversation like this.
Right.
I might have to schedule it on a different day, but I want to have this conversation. I want to speak with people like you, and no matter what I do or where I get in life, I hope that I'm always able to still be this person.
That's awesome. Yeah. Um, yeah. Just the answers is just wow, amazing. Um, you know, connecting this to what I've seen throughout and what I've heard from my own family is the best happiness is the one that you're able to share with others, right? The one that you are able to provide a happiness to others, and that in itself is one of the biggest um, happinesses that you can have. Um, so yeah, that is one of the main reasons where um, I got into volunteering and being able to even do this to a part where it is it is not that I'm going to go on YouTube and get views and stuff, but rather it's being able to help that one person who's looking for that one particular job, but they didn't know what it was. I was at a party and this guy, he just came up to me and he was like, "Oh, I'm a lawyer." I was like, "Whoa, you're a lawyer?" Because I'd never met a lawyer, a corporate lawyer. He was a corporate lawyer, and I never met a corporate lawyer. You know, in the TV shows, it's always that criminal lawyer or that defense attorney, et cetera, and stuff. And so he was the first corporate lawyer I met, and I was just so fascinated by what he did and how he helped me grow and realize what I wanted to do. Right? Um, he didn't get anything from that, but it changed my life. Right? The same way that you had that talk with the student body president or guy, right? Where he influenced your life to a point where it's completely changed your life, right? You wouldn't have gotten to that if you hadn't had that conversation, right? Who knows where we'd have been? So I feel that one of the greatest things is helping others, because we don't understand the sometimes we don't understand the impact that we're making in someone else's life. And once we see that, that I feel is one of the greatest, you know, um, happiness that you can have. Um, yeah. So I also learned that, um, shifting to yet again a different topic, I also learned that you yourself had COVID-19, apart from being in, the lockdown. All of us been cooped up, but you actually had COVID-19. So will you be changing something post COVID-19? Um, the reason I'm asking is that throughout Corona, many people were able to reflect on many previously buried things, whether it's your work life, whether it's your personal life, whether it's your hobbies, etc. So, will you be changing anything?
Um, you know, COVID-19 taught me a very, very hard lesson. And it was a lot of times when I'm stressed, or when I'm not feeling as confident about myself, that I just work harder and I push
Right.
myself harder, because if I can't if I can't make myself good just by thinking, then I can make myself good by saying I've accomplished these different things. I've done this work.
Mhm.
Um, COVID took away my ability to do things.
Right.
Some people have mild symptoms. I did not. I had all the breathing issues. I had all the symptoms,
God.
cough, the sore body, the headache. Um, and I was still trying to work while dealing with all of that.
Mhm.
And I was literally running out of breath while trying to say a sentence, right?
Yeah.
And not a lot of people got to see it. Obviously, I was quarantined in my room, but my little brother being here and seeing it and calling my family and being kind of concerned that I might not I might not be able to make it, right? There's a lot of people who unfortunately aren't with us anymore because of COVID-19. So learning my limits is what I would say I'm changing more than anything. Learning to take the time to rest, not, staying busy, of course, grinding when you have to, but also understanding there's what you can do and there's what you can't do. And if you push yourself too hard, your body will give out. There,
Right.
there's this adage that you can your body is weaker than your mind is. You can push your but any person who works out in the gym, any person who runs, any person who does any strenuous activity, will tell you that at one point the body gives out. You
Yeah.
can't force it to do anything more. And the brain is the same way. If you're not taking care of it, if you're not giving yourself reprieve, then it gives out as well. And you hit that wall of depression, and depression makes it hard for you to get out of bed the same way it would be hard for you if you had just worked out really, really hard the day before. So to avoid that strain and to avoid that depression is to give yourself a break, and give yourself grace, and give yourself time. We oftentimes hold ourselves to such a high standard,
Right.
right? But we have to give ourselves grace the same way we do other people. Look, sometimes you just need to go, leave the house, leave the office, get some McDonald's chicken nuggets,
Yeah.
whatever it is that you like, and just stare out the window. Like
Right.
drive. We got a really big lake by my house. Drive to the lake and just look at the water and like give yourself time.
Right.
relax your mind, rejuvenate your spirit. You can't pour from an empty vessel, and we empty ourselves out all the time. And so COVID taught me that, look, if I hadn't taken a serious interest in my health prior to it, I don't know that I'd be here, right? And have I done everything that I want to do to be okay with leaving? Absolutely not. But I can't give that. I can't do that. I can't be here for this interview if I don't take care of myself, if I don't rest when I need to. So I've learned to rest, and I've learned to kind of pace myself to make sure that, I'm doing. And it's funny, I got a friend, she's like, Josh, you're lazy. And I was like, I'm energy efficient. Because you have to take time for yourself. I'm still, dealing with some of the residual effects of COVID. And, some days like my energy is high, some days it's completely low.
Right.
It's a
Yeah.
reminder. I still have to take breaks. I still have to give myself time. I'm still healing. It's still going to take me time. I haven't gotten back in the gym yet, just because I don't feel comfortable enough to. But I'm not back to 100%, and it's going to take time to get back to 100%. And it takes time to do anything. So sometimes you just have to take your time and take it at the speed that you can. You don't have to go 150 miles an hour, and you shouldn't, because you oftentimes miss so many things along the way. And you know that one mistake at 150 miles per hour
It's
is
worse.
worse than a mistake at 50 miles an hour. You see what I'm saying? So it's a thing.
Definitely. This is actually something I can relate to. I recently had a soccer accident, and I broke every like a lot of bones on the right side of my face. And they had to literally, like, it was swollen quite badly, and they had to put metal plates and stuff. In fact, like, I have permanent metal plates now. Like, it's still the first thing that came to mind was, why can't I work now? And uh, I tried as well to go back, but it was honestly just so bad while doing it. It was as if I shouldn't do it at all. And so one of the key things I learned um, during the time, as you said, was the importance of taking a break. Right. In fact, you are the first interview that I'm able to do nicely after getting hurt. I can definitely relate to that on a personal level. Of course, not as I wouldn't have died, but my face could have been severely messed up. Thankfully, it hasn't. The doctors were able to do an amazing job, and I've been able to realize so many things out of that as well. Right.
Still look good,
Yeah. So, definitely that is a really important thing. Um, but moving on to a little more of everyday life. So how does your routine look like today? Um, how did you grow? Of course, along with a strong mindset, you'd also have to follow through, right? Um, so how did your day look like, or how does it look like now?
The interesting thing about politics is it's not a 9 to 5 job, for a lot of people.
True.
Of course, you can work for a member or something like that, work in capital, work for an agency, and it's a 9 to 5 job. But I do a lot of consulting, and so it's not a 9 to 5 job. And I was actually having this conversation with my little brother the other day, because politics happens in an instant, right? And when it happens, I have to be ready for it to happen. And I have to know what our response is going to look like, what information we need to put out, how we can organize. And so there's an educational aspect of it that is happening 24/7, right? I'm always trying to figure out what the recent news is, and I have to do research on it to make sure that I know all sides of it, not just my side, but the opposition side, to know what they're going to try to say and how they're going to throw things away at it. I got a few representatives that I work with send me a message and they're like, I need talking points. I got an interview in 30 minutes. And
Mhm.
so I have to be able to provide those talking points in a short window of time. And I can't just be first hearing about this,
Right.
right? When they reach
Yeah.
out to me, I have to have already have a base level of knowledge. But at the same time, these projects, when I think about them, I if I have 10 things to do today,
Mhm.
I can do 10 things today. Because I have to, right?
Right.
But if I have, 10 things to do by, the first of the month, then am I going to do one a day? Am I going to do five one day, skip two
Right.
days and do five the next day? Like, whatever that schedule kind of looks like is indicative of how much free time you're going to have and how much hard work
Right.
you're put in. And so for me, there's some days where I'm like, I can't do those projects today because I have to worry about this, or my little brother likes Top Golf, so I try to make time in my schedule to ensure that he gets to go to Top Golf, right? But
Mhm.
Top Golf costs money, so I also
Yeah.
turn back around and maybe that night stay up till 2, 3, 4 a.m. doing work, or I have to skip going to see a friend, or watching TV, or anything that I might consider fun because I need to knock that work out. So it's not a routine for me. Uh, it's just about balance. It's about making
Mhm.
sure that I identify this is the work that I need to do, and this is the free time that I can have if I do it, and sacrificing free time, or trying to extend my free time means sacrificing, free time in other spaces and working harder.
Right.
Uh, so today, this is the first work that I've done today, right?
Mhm.
Uh, I've spent today not really doing a whole lot, but I mean, I have a list, and my desk is covered in papers that you luckily can't see on Zoom, of things that I need to knock out and finish. And so the rest of the day, because I took the morning off, is going to be spent doing this.
Definitely. Yeah. Yeah. I actually like those kinds of routines. Because if you had like, hey, I'm gonna do this from this time to this time, like from 1 to 2 or 1 to 3, if I don't have my mind in that, I'm just looking forward to 3 o'clock or to 2 o'clock, right? Um, Whereas if I need to get something done, doesn't matter how long it's gonna take, then the priority changes from the time shift to getting that thing done, right? And that is something I've started to have myself, is rather than making a routine or a schedule based on, hey, I need to do this at this time, this at this time. I just write a to-do list nowadays, right? I need to get this done, and if this gets done, then it's a productive day, right? It's a day where you've gotten work done. So I respect that. You know, that is one thing I feel is actually quite important. Um, so going to a completely off topic and off the cuff question, you said you do consultancy. What exactly is that? Like, I
Um,
don't think I came across that. That's why.
yeah, no, political consulting. Essentially, I make sure that I have a very broad base of information on a number of different issues,
Mhm.
so that if somebody has an idea, or something that they want to do, I
Mhm.
can come in and teach them how to do it, or do it for them, or set it up. Um, a great example of this, Oklahoma passed, what is called permitless carry, which means
Right.
you don't have a license to get a gun, right?
Right.
Representative who was like, I don't want this law to exist. And so we looked at our options. A veto referendum was one of the options, but it was a signature petition drive where we had to get 50,000 signatures. And the unfortunate reality is we had 3 weeks to do it. And
Right.
so my job was, one, how do we do this? Two, like what's the legal constraints? Three, what's the messaging got to look like? Four, how can we identify partners? Five, what number of petition signatures per day do we need to get? How can we provide training to make sure that folks are doing it the right way? Do we have coalitions where we can make sure that this is kind of spread out and it's not just in one certain space? All of those different things, um, which, the task was impossible from the beginning. We ended up, I think, getting like 37,000 signatures in 2 weeks,
Wow.
which in that window, you're supposed to have 90 days, but we started so late that we only had 2 weeks. And so if we would have had an extra week, we would have hit our goal. Um, but you don't get an extra week sometimes.
Right.
But my job is to know how to do all of those things. My job is to know who to contact. My job is to know how to organize, how to do the messaging. My consultation is essentially me advising you on how to do things because I know the best practices and the best people to bring together for those projects.
Awesome. That's awesome. So, well, thank you so much for being here, Mr. Harris, um, and having this amazing interview, giving not only me but my viewers so many insights on um, how we go about with maybe our day with the to-do list, how we should have our mindset on how to do things, and it's okay to take a break, right? Along with that, telling us on your journey and how you became who you are today and what you do. So thank you so much for being here and see you.
Thank you. Good one.